It's Friday. Love it. You love it. It's Friday. Love Fridays. I got so much to get to today, and I'm so excited to get to all of it. My brain has been going all morning. Got a ton of stuff. Got a ton of stuff for you today. I do want to mention off the top, and I do have my coffee here. I do have it, but I went to Publix this morning as I was coming in, looking to get my jet fuel, the dark roast. All I had was the medium. It's like water. We'll see if it gets it done. All right. I need it straight to the veins. I need the dark stuff. All right. So we'll see how I do. We'll see how I do. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff to get to. I do want to mention this. I know I mentioned a couple little sports things off the top, some shows. I just get it out of the way, right? It's not a sports show, but if there's an intersection between sports and politics or sports and current events, I'm going to get there gladly. But I do want to put the Pacers OKC series on your radar. I know a lot of you aren't really into sports, but you're into history, right? And history could be made in this series. The Indiana Pacers, they haven't been to the NBA Finals since 2000, and they have never won the NBA Finals. And they were underdogs in, I believe, every single series this postseason, all right? I don't remember their seed exactly. I think it might have been 6th seed. I don't remember their seeding exactly, but they have been underdogs the entire postseason. And now they are in the finals. And they tied it up last night. It is 3-3 right now. And their star player, Tyrese Halliburton, this dude has been carrying them. He's hit 4 separate game-winning buzzer beaters this postseason. Suffered an injury earlier in this finals, an injury that would have kept him out days, possibly weeks, if this was the regular season. He played through it last night to lead his squad to a series-tying victory. Game 7 coming up, I think, in 2 days. You may want to check it out. Indiana has never won a championship, and OKC was an overwhelming favorite. I believe this will be the biggest upset, betting-wise, favorite, like moneyline-wise, ever. So, putting it on your radar. If you like history, some history may be made in a couple days here in that series. It is Friday. I want you to call in about anything. Maybe you didn't get a chance to call in about the protests you took place in a few days ago, or last weekend, rather. You want to tell me about your experience. Maybe you have something to say about all of these ICE raids, or the situation in LA, or the Iran-Israel situation, whatever it may be, or anything off topic. It's Friday. I'd love to hear from you. 270-3844, 561-270-3844. I'm going to give you that number a couple times during the show. I do really want to hear from you, and I want you to get comfortable calling in on Fridays about whatever. So let's jump into the topics. We got a bunch of one-offs, and then I'm going to dive deeper into a couple things. So we're going to start with this one. Trump lost his appeal in the E. Jean Carroll case. Okay, you guys might remember in 2023, he was found liable in a civil court for sexually abusing E. Jean Carroll in the 1990s and defaming her. He was ordered to pay $5 million. It has been an appeal for quite some time. He just lost this appeal. He just lost it. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals voted 8-2 to deny his appeal. And you might be wondering about those two. Well, I'm sure you would be shocked to find out that those two judges who voted against the appeal, or voted for the appeal, they were both Trump-appointed judges, Steve Menashe and Michael Park, both dissenting against the ruling, calling the original ruling indefensible. They cited concerns over improper evidence and the way it was presented to the jury. They said they were improperly shown the Access Hollywood video, improperly shown and heard testimony from other women who have accused him. They were standalones and both Trump appointees. Shocking, right? Shocking. They also called this liberal lawfare, as did a Trump spokesman. And don't forget, it's not over for Trump in terms of E. Jean Carroll. In a separate lawsuit, another jury had awarded Carroll $83.3 million in defamation charges. This was stemming after he was already told no more comments about E. Jean Carroll, no more calling her a liar and defaming her out in front of courthouses. Stop it. He couldn't stop himself. You know he can't stop himself. Then another $83 million defamation suit was awarded to E. Jean Carroll. That is currently in appeal, and that will be heard on June 24th of this year. So we'll see, what happens with that extra 83 million he may owe her. But that's a little bit of good news, right? A little bit of good news. As you guys know, yesterday was Juneteenth. I celebrated with you. I decided to spend it with you guys. A lot of people got work off. It's a federal holiday, right? A lot of people got work off. Trump doesn't like that. He chose that day to say ambiguously too many non-working holidays in America. He picked Juneteenth, the day to say it. Juneteenth is when he's decided to make this bold statement that there's just too many non-working holidays. And the White House, by the way, did not celebrate Juneteenth. Business as usual in the White House, of course. And he alleges that the workforce of America is against non-working holidays. According to Trump, the workers of America want to make America great again by working on Juneteenth. I'm sure he polled all of the workers in America to get that, to be able to securely say that all working Americans are against non-working holidays. He has it under good authority. It wasn't just many people, right? It wasn't just many people. So that's a charming little touch out of our president, picking Juneteenth to tell us there's too many non-working holidays. He didn't pick, Arbor Day or Flag Day or some other day. No, it had to be Juneteenth to highlight there's too many. Here's a little bit of good news, depending. I mean, look, so Mark Green, a rep out of Tennessee, he's been representing the 7th District of Tennessee since 2019. He is retiring. Now, if you're in this district and you feel like he has been representing you, faithfully, and you're proud of him, this is a sad day for you. If you are someone who is not a fan of Republican policy and not a giant fan of Republicans having majority in the House and Senate, then this is good news for you. Now, there is going to be a special election to replace him, but it's a deep, deep, deep red district, and it most likely will be another Republican. Don't hold out hope that there will be a switch of political affiliation in that seat. Don't expect that. But until that special election is held, there will be a period of time from him leaving and that special election being held, and they will be down one vote in a very narrowly held majority for the Republicans in the House. He's citing an unbelievable and exciting opportunity in the private sector, but he is going to wait till he gets a chance to pass, or vote on rather, the big beautiful bill before he leaves. That's going to be his last official act as rep of Tennessee. So he's waiting for another chance to vote on this. It's going to get through the Senate. I had some details on some of the changes that were going to be made in the Senate that are going forward in the big, beautiful bill in the Senate. I didn't want to get into it yet because none of it's ironclad yet, right? When it gets set in stone and comes back to the House, I'll get into those changes then, and I'll happily get into it. But until then, I don't really want to dig too deep into the changes, but Mark Green's going to wait for his opportunity to vote yes on whatever the hell that looks like, and then he's going to exit stage left into the private sector. So we'll see. I mean, it's not wonderful hip hip hooray type news, but, we'll see if it makes a difference in that narrowly held majority in the House. We'll see. Adios, Mark Green. Farewell and good luck to you. Another story I just wanted to two other stories before we start diving into what we got. One, this I like. This story, man, when I heard it, my first reaction was, okay, great. This is still America. This is still America. An 8-foot tall, Dictator Approved, and that's the name of this statue, this art installation, sculpture, Dictator Approved sculpture, appeared in the National Mall. National Mall, and I've got a picture of it. I'm going to show it to you in a second. It's on display in the National Mall. It's called Dictator Approved. It's an 8-foot statue featuring a golden hand giving a thumbs up, crushing the Statue of Liberty's head. There it is. All right, I'm going to leave it up there for just a second while I give you some details on this. The artist remains anonymous. Smart move out of you. And there are around the base, around the sides of that base, you can't see it in that photo, but around the sides of the base are quotes from authoritarian leaders praising Donald Trump. Quotes out of Vladimir Putin. President Trump is a very bright and talented man. I mean, he's trolling, right? Like that's he's bright and talented man. Viktor Orban's quote of the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump, and some other quotes around there as well. That appeared in the National Mall just after the June 14th military parade. And the permit is valid through the 22nd of June. 24/7 surveillance has been assigned to that statue. That's a good move. But like, how do you feel about that? Like, still America, right? You can still protest in your own way. That's obviously a more artistic expression of protest. But the fact that it is allowed to be on our national mall right after the authoritarian-like parade on June 14th, and the fact that, you know, the artist is allowed to be anonymous, and they have assigned 24/7 surveillance to the statue to protect it, I feel like that's great. Forget the fact that I agree with its message. You know, I agree with the message that it's conveying. That's beside the point. I mean, even somebody on the right, some of you on the right, you got to agree that this is America at work right here. This is what America affords you. Being an American citizen affords you that type of protest. And if you had a similar protest against any Democratic leaders, or, you know, when the Democrats take the House back after the next presidential election, you Republicans can go and put up a statue on the National Mall and depicting whatever the heck you want, because it's America. America. So we're going to get into, in the next couple segments, we're going to get into a little bit of the nuke talk that's been kicked around concerning the Iran situation. Tactical nukes are still on the table. They're on the table. Carroll Levitt, she seized her chance to get out and talk about the Iran situation a little bit. Fox News, they made a reporting. So we're going to get into that. And then after that, really excited to get into some Pete Hegseth grilling, right? Pete Hegseth was grilled at the Capitol. And I'm going to pose a question to you. Do you feel like you are being represented properly by your Democratic representatives in the House, and in this case, the Senate? They're going to grill Pete Hegseth, and I'm hoping, I'm wondering, do they represent your concerns with Pete Hegseth?
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because democracy doesn't defend itself.
One more little tidbit, and this is more of a PSA before I jump into the Iran stuff. There has been, in 2020, just a little bit ago, cybersecurity researchers have uncovered a massive data breach. Okay, and I'm just telling you this because I feel it's something you might want to know. And I'm constantly listening to the news cycle, right? I'm listening to CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC. I listen to these people, and I haven't heard a whole lot about this. And I feel like it's something that you might want to know about, right? Maybe you'll get scared. Maybe we'll just brush it aside, but I do want to tell you. There has been a massive data breach. 16 billion credentials were breached. 16 billion credentials were breached. They included username, password, URLs for a wide range of services, including Apple, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, GitHub, and VPNs and government portals were breached. 16 billion. They say 5.5 billion people were affected, and 16 billion credentials were obtained. That means basically multiple credentials for a single person, in many instances, were obtained, were breached. Multiple. So, they're encouraging you to update passwords for critical accounts like your email, your banking, and social media. Avoid reusing passwords, obviously, and check these accounts maybe after the show today or whatever, while you're listening to me, open up another tab and just check your stuff real quick, right? 16 billion credentials were breached. So that's fun. Just figured I'd mention that real quick. So there's a lot going on in terms of, Iran's nuclear readiness, right? Their nuclear capability. That's what's really getting kicked around. That's the football getting kicked around right now. And the push from the administration and from friendly governments, let's just say, is they're ready. They're ready. They're ready. They're ready. They've got nukes. They're ready. We had heard about these bunker buster bombs that Trump is thinking about using. They are called GBUs 57s, by the way. They are 30,000 pound bombs. They are designed to destroy deeply buried targets. They are deployed using B-2 stealth technology. But even though they're stealth technology, it requires air superiority to deploy these bombers. You have to have air superiority over and around your target. Otherwise, even with the stealth technology, there's a good chance they get detected or shot down. I told you when Operation Rising Lion began that there were some Israeli operatives inside Iran building their own surface-to-air missile units and sabotaging Iranian surface-to-air defense measures. So this might be on the heels of that. Maybe they've been spectacularly effective. There's no way to really know, especially when you're relying on Iranian intelligence reports versus Israeli intelligence reports. Obviously, they're not going to coincide, and it's really tough to decide for yourself where the truth ends and the lies begin between the two intelligence departments of these countries. But this would suggest to me that if this is being considered, that they may have at least partial air superiority in the region. I will not dig my foot in on that. I don't know for sure, but it would lead me to believe that they're close, at least, to air superiority to even be considering this. But Trump says he's not going to deploy these bunker busters at all unless he's 100% sure of their effectiveness. That seems a little ambiguous to me. It seems like an extra reason to step this up another level. That's an option that can be used without putting American troops on the ground and without using tactical nukes. But if Trump wants to put troops on the ground, if that's his end game, and wants to use tactical nukes in a show of power to the Iranian government, this would seem like a little leeway for him to reasonably get that done, right? If he decides, you know what, I think that bunker busters have a 98% chance of success. Therefore, it's not the 100% chance that I personally would be comfortable with. So we're taking another measure. We're going to ramp it up. We're going to do something else. We're going to decide on another tactical maneuver, one way or another, to get these underground facilities destroyed. And by the way, most experts on these things agree that even if we were to use the bunker busters, it wouldn't be that difficult to repair the damage and get the facilities working again. The International Atomic Energy, they have found that there is uranium enrichment at a high percent in the Fordow nuclear enrichment facility. That's the one particularly being mentioned in terms of these bunker busters. The IAEA is saying that they have 83.7% enrichment, which is close to the 90% needed to start developing nuclear weapons with it. Okay, that seems like an urgent situation to me. I don't know how long and what is involved in the steps. I don't know, the timetable on that last 7%, and I certainly don't know the timetable or logistics on creating a nuclear weapon, specifically one that could be attached to an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is the ones that we would really, really be worried about. We don't know what the timetable or the logistics on creating that is once it gets enriched, but they say that's the priority. And Carolyn Leavitt, She came out, she had things to say about it.
When the president says Iran is very close to a nuclear weapon, is he relying on U.S. intelligence or intelligence sharing from an ally to make that assessment?
It is a fact, and the United States government maintains this fact, that Iran has never been closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon.
He asked you, where are you getting your intelligence? Whose intelligence are you relying on to definitively stand up at that podium and say they are 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon? Which intelligence? And she doesn't want to even get close to answering that and just doubles down, it's a fact. Don't worry about fact checking me. Don't worry about my sources. I'm telling you it's a fact. Of course, we played the clips, the mashup of Bibi telling us it's a fact that they're 2 weeks away since 20 years ago. It's been a fact they're 2 weeks away. So I take that with a boulder assault, and you won't tell us whose intelligence you're relying on, but we've heard from our intelligence on the matter.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Okay, so that's our intelligence. Our director of national intelligence, in my opinion, won't be for long. But that's her telling you, and I've played it a couple times. I feel like it's important to play that. They're telling you no. Fox weighed in on the tactical nukes option.
Fresh from the White House briefing. Hi, Jackie.
Hey, Martha. There have been a lot of headlines this afternoon, including one from The Guardian that claimed that the U.S. military has doubts about whether the bunker buster bombs could get the job done, and further claiming that only a tactical nuke maybe could finish it. And it further stated that the president is not considering a tactical nuke, that it was not one of the options that was presented to him. I was just told by a top official here that none of that report is true, that none of the options are off the table, and the U.S. military is very confident that bunker busters could get the job done.
I believe that. In terms of Trump's decision making, I believe that no options are off the table. Why do I say that? Because extreme options are the hallmark of this administration. And let me remind you that one thing that was not off the table for Trump a handful of years ago was nuking a hurricane. That seems like an extreme option. He's all about extreme options. And if you're hate watching me and that sounded like some bull crap from the left, I encourage you to go check that out. That's your cult leader who decided nuking a hurricane was a viable option. So yes, I believe that tactical nukes and anything else is on Trump's table. He might have to move some Big Macs and fries out of the way, but nukes are on the table. I promise you. And, you know, in the face of all this, and we've been hearing a lot of rhetoric out of Trump and his allies and Fox News and Carroll Levitt and all these people about the Iranian threat, about the nuclear threat posed by Iran, and what we're willing to do or not do. Has any of you wondered how Iran feels about all of this? Well, we can find out, because the Iranian ambassador had something to say about Trump's recent rhetoric.
The remarks made by Donald Trump are completely unwarranted, are very hostile. We cannot ignore them. We are vigilant about what Donald Trump is saying. We will put it in our calculations, in our assessments, and there is a line which, if crossed, there should be a response on our side. And that line will be defined by our relevant authorities, including military forces. And once the red line is crossed, the response will come.
All right, so I'm certainly not an Iranian sympathizer, okay? I would not hope for a pro-Iranian outcome to just about anything. But I will say this, we are in a sad state of affairs when the Iranian response to Trump's rhetoric is more measured and politically palatable to the world stage than Trump's. When their response to a possible U.S. military involvement in this conflict is measured and clear, much more judicious and measured than our own president's, something's going on here. Something's going on. Why do I wish that Trump would respond to the press more in a fashion like the Iranian ambassador? So we'll be back with that Hegseth stuff.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
All right, welcome back. Give us a call, 561-270-3844. If you have any thoughts about anything I just covered right there, or some of those stories in the beginning, thoughts about the art installation or the E. Jean Carroll decision, any of that, give me a call. If you have any thoughts about what I'm about to get into, give me a call. In terms of Pete Hegseth and his counterparts in the Trump administration, it has been a whirlwind of unconstitutional decision-making, executive orders, sycophantic pandering to the administration, to their dear leader. It seems to me that their messaging to the American people is we are Trump's team first. You, the American people, come second. So a lot of them, I feel, many of us would like to question them, would like them to answer questions, very specific questions. And it is up to our representatives to do this for us. And I want you, and I would love to hear from you. Do you feel like this next group of senators that got a chance to question Hegseth, are they representing your fears, your concerns about Pete Hegseth? Are they asking the tough questions that you want answers to? For me, I think they did a pretty good job. I also think Hegseth did a good job showing us who his allegiance is to. A lot of these questioning, a lot of these hearings, I don't find a ton of use for because they are allowed to be, standoffish. They're allowed to, filibuster and spin and hit talking points and further their culture war in the face of direct questioning. A lot of them don't answer questions, and of course it doesn't look great for them, but a lot of them just avoid questions, and Hegseth did a bunch of that, but at least he was asked, in my opinion, a lot of the right questions. I think Elizabeth Warren's up first. Let's take a look.
How many troops can you deploy domestically before you start to cut into our readiness internationally?
As I said, previous administrations deployed our National Guard all around the globe in numbers far beyond what we were capable of supporting. So limited contingencies inside the United States to protect federal law enforcement is doable.
If the Supreme Court orders you to remove troops from American city streets, will you do so?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. If the Supreme Court orders you to remove troops from American cities, will you do so?
As I've said, Senator, I don't believe district courts should determine national security policy, but if the Supreme Court rules on a topic, we will abide by that.
Okay. So Pete Hegseth has decided he's not listening to district courts. He'll only listen to the Supreme Court. That does not surprise me. That does not surprise me that officials in this administration would like to lean on this Supreme Court. They'd love everything to go right up to the Supreme Court because this may be one of the most sycophantic, sympathetic Supreme Courts we have ever seen. And I'm not going to stop short of corrupt because we know, okay, we know about Clarence Thomas. We know Republican mega donors have paid for his mother's house, paid for his vacations, bought him an RV, still not forced to recuse himself from some of these issues, will not step down from his position being clearly compromised. Of course they want it to go to the Supreme Court. Of course they do. Of course he does. It's their Supreme Court. Warren continues.
Secretary Hegseth, if the president wanted to deploy Marines to Chicago and New York City like he did in Los Angeles, would you carry out that order even if the local governors and mayors objected?
Well, Senator, because Governor Newsom was unwilling to address
that's not
protecting federal law enforcement agents in Los Angeles, President Trump had all the authorities, and the Defense Department happily supported defending our ICE agents in the conduct of their job. They have the right as Americans to be able to do their job without being attacked by mobs. And we will protect them in that process. And if other states needed it, we would provide that.
I know that you heard my question. So you would be willing to send troops if the president ordered it to Chicago, New York City? That's right.
Well, thankfully, New York City, unlike California, unlike Gavin Newsom, is willing to step up and address the issue with their local law enforcement.
I will take that as a yes. How about if the president says he wants to send troops to 15 cities? Would you be willing to do that?
Senator, I don't accept your hypothetical because it's
That's a hypothetical.
Not a real
That's
one.
the question. You're the Secretary of Defense. Would you send troops to 15 cities if the president said do it? Would you do it? 15 cities.
Again, Senator, it's a complete hypothetical lacking any context at all.
You're the Secretary
and I refuse
of
to
Defense.
box myself in based on questioning on a hypothetical.
But you're here asking for $1 trillion, and I want to know how you're going to spend it. And so my question is, if Donald Trump tells you to send troops to 15 American cities, are you going to spend the money and send the troops?
Thankfully, we're spending money on securing our southern border, a way the previous administration abandoned and allowed 21 million illegals to enter our country. So defending our homeland is a real serious priority under this administration, and we're doing it.
I understand.
Would you send troops to New York or Chicago? Well, Gavin Newsom's a bad guy, is the answer to that question. Would you send troops to 15 other cities? Well, luckily we're securing our southern border. What the hell are you talking about? He did sneak an answer in there. He said, would I do this again? Yes. He snuck it in there. And he can confidently say that and hit those points because, and I just want to real quick give you the context. Some of you may already know that the appeals court has ruled in Trump's favor. Okay, you may remember, obviously, U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer out of San Francisco previously ruled that Trump had overstepped his boundaries, arguing the protest did not constitute a rebellion. Okay, so that judge had said, you can't send the troops. You got it. We have to revert control back to Gavin Newsom for those National Guardsmen in California. An appeals court ruled that Trump can retain control. Okay, it has been appealed successfully by the administration. It halts the prior ruling. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal had decided that protesters were pinning down federal officers, throwing concrete and other objects, attacking federal buildings, and forcing the closure of at least one federal building. Now, those things they cited there are under the title's purview, right, that they invoked. And what was dicey, and I told you at the time I don't think this ruling will stand. I told you this. It won't stand because the wording on whether Newsom needed to give his okay for those troops to be stationed in L.A. was a little ambiguous. And I had thought that the wording did not constitute his green light. It did say you are to notify. And so Gavin took that and ran with it and tried to get it blocked, but the appeals court, I'm not surprised, they said no. He doesn't really need your green light. He doesn't even actually need to inform you, technically. Because these things were happening, the damage to the federal buildings and the local law enforcement's inability to protect themselves, that is enough for Trump to send those troops. That's what the Court of Appeals had decided. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as you're listening to these questions.
Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
Giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in a uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country, who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military.
Okay. That was Alyssa Slotkin. Okay. Senator out of Michigan, Democrat out of Michigan. And although I find it highly entertaining that she's telling Pete Hegseth to his face that he has no balls, I'd rather my senators not use that kind of language, not because I find it personally offensive. I just feel like she should have a stronger, more savvy grasp on the English language and be able to convey that sentiment without saying you don't have any balls. Although, again, I find it highly entertaining. And he rejects the premise of that question. He rejects the premise of the question. How ridiculous. Is it ridiculous? Because in 2019, Trump, surrounded by advisors, asked, well, can we just shoot these protesters in the legs? That was confirmed by everybody at that meeting, and then a book that was released and confirmed, fact-checked by the New York Times. So it has been fact-checked and verified on a number of levels that, yes, he asked, can we just shoot these protesters in the leg? Asking such things as, can we make a moat? Can we create a moat with sharks and alligators? Can we put spikes and razors on the top of walls? Maybe they'll lacerate themselves. He asked all sorts of wild crap. So it's not, you shouldn't be, dismissing the notion of these questions offhand, Mr. Hegseth, because you very well may be faced with the same decision soon. So I had some more. You get the idea. Tammy Duckworth, who had spent time as a an Army National Guard lieutenant, she asks, about is it appropriate to be spending time and money training our troops to assist local law enforcement? Shouldn't they be spending their time getting ready for a potential war in the Middle East or, defending American interests overseas? And why are you so involved heavily in matters that are DHS? And she suggests when you get fired from this job, maybe you can go and work for the DHS, Mr. Hegseth. I encourage you to go check out some of that questioning. We're up against one last segment, and I wanted to get to some of the highlighting of injustice that I did yesterday. I had more to do, so we're going to get to that, and we're going to get to your phone call, Yuki. I'll be right back.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because silence isn't an option.
All right. Final segment of the week, our third live week. If you're enjoying the show, and I really, really hope you are, I really am, do your part to keep it going. And it's not just me kind of using hyperbole. Literally help keep it going by hitting the donate button at our website, brettbreaksthings.com. Donate to the GoFundMe. Every single donation is appreciated. I'm starting to make my list through my thank yous, and I have a lot of thank yous to get through. And I will personally thank every single one of you. That is my vow to you. But yeah, take a personal role in keeping this going. If you enjoy it, and donate whatever you can, it is greatly appreciated. Call in and take part in the show, 561-270-3844. Yuki in Coconut Creek, one of my mods. Yuki, what's up? Hello, Yuki? Oh, maybe she wasn't ready. We'll put her back on hold, and we'll see if we can reconnect with Yuki in a little bit. Anybody else who wants to jump on? 561-270-3844. Okay, so I want to highlight the injustice, right? I did want to mention, the Lakers were sold just recently. The Lakers were sold to the owner of the Dodgers. I put that paper somewhere. Yeah, Mark Walter. Mark Walter is the owner of the Dodgers. He was a minority owner of the Lakers. He has bought the Lakers $10 billion, by the way. And he had a little excitement at his stadium. There was some ICE agents at the stadium. I'm not going to play all the video because I feel like I'm not going to get through everything. And I do want to talk to Yuki if I can get a chance. So I'm just going to tell you some ICE agents gathered at Dodger Stadium saying that they wanted to process some illegals and detain them in the area. It's unclear whether it was they had business inside the stadium with workers in the stadium or somebody that's worked on the outside, but they approached Gate E of Dodger Stadium, and one security guard, one gate guard, told ICE and all of their trucks and agents, "I'm not letting you in." And he won the standoff. "I'm not letting you in. Kick rocks." And they did not get into Dodger Stadium. They went to another gate, and by the time they had gone to Gate A to gain entrance, a mob of protesters had gathered, denying them entrance into Gate A. And they were forced to turn tail and run. Then they released a statement. ICE was never there. But we've got reporting from Jacob Sokoloff and some other people that were on the scene at the time. They certainly were there and denied. Well done, gate guard, whoever you are. Real American heroes. In the questioning of Pete Hegseth, he was questioned by Duckworth specifically, Tammy Duckworth specifically, about our troops arresting people in LA. And he kept repeating the talking point, they're assisting law enforcement, protecting federal buildings. Well, I'm going to play you a video that screams to me, we're in a police state. That might not be the truth. That might be a little excitable, but you decide. You decide after you see this. That is our National Guard troops arresting a man in front of the Wilshire Federal Building in LA. Okay, so all of the hypothetical scenarios that we have been bantering about and he's been asked about and that people have been worried about, it's no longer hypothetical. That is a 27-year-old Army veteran, Marcos Leal, being arrested in front of that federal building. He was detained, zip-tied, and handed over to DHS. He is a U.S. citizen. Hard stop. He's a U.S. citizen. And he was detained and handed over to DHS. It is important to know that under the Posse Comitatus Act, federal troops are not allowed to carry out the duties of local law enforcement. Not allowed. The only way you can go over, above, pass by the Posse Comitatus Act is in an insurrection act being activated, being declared, right? The Insurrection Act being invoked. Once that happens, they can. It has not happened. And I'll tell you right now, if he invokes the Insurrection Act in LA, after not even calling out the Guard on January 6th, that will be hypocrisy that is so clear and obvious to anyone. I don't know. You think there's protests now? Just wait. If he invokes the Insurrection Act, it will be more than protests. It will be more than protests. The fact that he could even consider it when he didn't even consider the National Guard on J6 it's mind-blowing. Let's see if Yuki's here. We'll give another shot here. Yuki, there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Hold on one second.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You're good to go.
Okay. Well, what I was going to say was we're going to war. So nobody knows it yet, and it's going to be a nuclear war.
Wow.
So,
that's quite a declaration, Yuki. Now, why are you so confident getting on the line with me and saying that definitively?
Because he wants to be a wartime president.
He
thinks so much of himself that he wants to be a wartime president. He doesn't understand the consequences. He doesn't understand we can't afford it, and that he's got troops spread out all over this country for his crap for illegal immigration. He's just going to do it because he wants to play big guy.
Okay, so
that's what he wants to, and that's my fear, is that his hand is close to that button.
That sentiment holds water with me. If Trump considers himself the strong man, the most respected, most feared, it feels like going to and winning a war would, in his mind, be a prerequisite to attaining the level of leadership that he sees himself capable of, and he sees that he should have, that the rest of the world should see him as. But that does fly in the face of his campaign promises, right, Yuki? He said, I'm the guy who will keep us out of World War III. Only me, right? He said, only me. I'm going to be the peacetime president. No wars under me, right? Those were his direct campaign promises.
When has he kept the promise?
Absolutely.
When has he kept the promise? No. He doesn't keep his promises.
No,
Mega's going to find that out real soon when they start losing their benefits.
You don't think that we can go to war with Iran and possibly win a military conflict with Iran without it going to a nuclear war? You don't think that's a possibility?
No, because in their mind, they've got nothing to lose. They've hated the West for the last 50 years, and Bush didn't help it. You know, the weapons of mass destruction that were never there. We started the hatred. We built ISIS. And people keep forgetting that. Randy taught us that.
Yes, she did.
You know, that all this stuff that they hate the West, this is on us.
Now, Yuki, do you personally believe that in the face of all the talking points that Iran is right now capable of unleashing a nuclear weapon? Do you believe that?
I do believe it, because last time Trump was in office, he stopped all that. And we had them by the balls, and they hadn't finished yet. Well, now, 4 or 5 years later, we don't know what they really have down there. And bunker bombs aren't going to do it. This thing is dug deep. So our intel, and we have an idiot that's giving us our intelligence. Nobody trusts her. So, I really do believe they've got more than we think they have. We're underestimating them, just like we did with the Japanese. We underestimated them.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Yuki. And I appreciate you calling. Anybody else, please call in. I do feel you're accurate calling Tulsi Gabbard an idiot. And apparently Trump also thinks she's an idiot, as she is not invited to Camp David in strategic talks with his own advisory group. And he's going on Air Force One saying she doesn't know what she's talking about. So you're not the only one that thinks Tulsi Gabbard's an idiot. I hope you're wrong, Yuki. I hope you're wrong. I do. I personally don't think Iran is capable of unleashing nuclear weapons just yet. That's my feeling. I say that because I feel like their rhetoric would be more fiery. I feel like we'd hear harder line talking points out of them if they were nuclear capable. I also feel in this matter, I can trust the Israeli intelligence gathering community. I don't know that Israel would be quite so emboldened to unleash this type of barrage on Tehran and insert covert operations inside Iranian territory to sabotage sites. I don't know if they would be this emboldened if their intelligence community was coming back and saying, no, they're nuclear capable. And anything like this could cause the death of tens of thousands of Israelis. I appreciate the call, Yuki. I really hope you're wrong. Not to switch gears back, but I did want to play a couple more videos. I'm not going to be able to get to all this. It's a shame. I wanted to play you this, highlighting injustice. In terms of some of the dirty tactics being used by ICE and, DHS and the forces aligned to purge our country of the murderers and rapists that they ran out of a month ago. This particular story, this video, tell me how you feel about this.
I'm kind of confused with her just because
you guys have a family together?
They're a family. It's his wife, and she has health issues actually. He is my other client, and he's also my client. But the three of them were given until June 19th to respond to the motion to expedite removal. So I would like to be given a chance to have that.
Well, I understand what you said, but the thing is, we're here to get, like last time, even if the court continues, we still have to go. Now, my thing is, I'm giving you the options, because I have to take one. But if not, I'll take one.
So, what is the option? Sorry, what would be the option?
I'll take one or I'll take all.
I'll take one or I'll take all.
You take one or take all?
Yeah. And one or I'll take all.
I don't know. May I have some time to speak with them and see what happens?
Yes, as long as we do it here.
Okay.
Those three had shown up for their court date to have their status evaluated by a judge. And in ICE's current fashion, this administration's fashion, their cases were dismissed offhand, and they were met with an ICE agent in the hall. And that ICE agent gave that attorney a Sophie's choice. I'll either take all three, or you choose one that's coming with me. How you feel about that? How could you imagine how that conversation goes there in the hallway after you're told one or all of you? These are the tactics. These are the tactics. I just showed you video of U.S. troops detaining a U.S. citizen, an Army veteran. Yesterday, I showed you video of ICE snatching a mother of a 12-year-old daughter off the streets of New York to leave her there with one passerby, a witness, to take care of her. This is what America looks like right now.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks things will be back Monday to break it all down.